How's it going, everybody? It is great to see you. It's great to be here. My name is Alex, if you don't know me. For those of you who do know me, I'm sorry you have to deal with me for the next hour. It's going to be trouble because, that's the type of stuff I like to get into. It's really great to see you guys, though. I'm so stoked to be here. We got a couple great channels to go over. Brooke, love to see you. Jeremy, I'm pretty sure you're in the chat. You were one of the first people to drop a hey fam. So hopefully you're still with us. It's really great to be here. Where is everybody coming in from? I saw somebody was in Georgia and they were saying it's freezing. I'm in South Carolina and it is cold. It's like 48 degrees here. And I'm not doing all right. I like the cold, but it's a little too chilly even for my blood. And then here we go. Alex, he is a hoot. So this is some deep lore, actually, because I wasn't sure if an owl was a bird and I Googled it live in the stream. And so that's kind of where that came from. Okay, I won't waste too much time on the VRA lore around here because we can get sidetracked. But anyway, we have something to quickly go over before we dive into the channel audits. And that is the Think Media Mastermind that's coming up in May. It comes up fast. We literally just had one at the end of February. March feels like it's almost over, which means April doesn't exist. And then May is going to be right around the corner. So you have to start getting things dialed in. And so get your early bird tickets here. And if you want to apply and make sure you're a right fit, because we want to make sure that the people that are coming to the event, it's appropriate for you and your level of YouTube, because we're talking about a lot of stuff when it comes to elevating your business. We're going to be talking about AI. Nathan's going to be there talking about how to actually structure your videos so that you're leveraging them appropriately to get the views, to get those leads, to get those sales. Caleb will be diving deep into case studies. Brian will be diving deep into AI. And then, of course, Sean will be there. Unfortunately, he was not there at this last one because he got sick, but he is better. And Sean has never missed an event in his life before, up until recently with this emergency. So you just know that he's going to come back with a vengeance and just level up this mastermind. So if you can't attend and you'd like to apply, come to thinkmediamastermind.com, fill out the questionnaire, read everything, make sure you're a good fit for this, make sure you want to come, of course, obviously. If you're part of Accelerator, this is obviously part of how Accelerator works. And all you have to do, really, the kind of the hard part is just figuring out where you want to stay and booking your flight. That's like really the hardest part. The rest is just communicate with us. Let us know where you are in your stage. If you have any other questions, go to thinkmediasupport.com. You can always talk to people like Logan and Andy to help you get more situated and comfortable to make sure that this is the right place for you. So with that being said, unless there's any other things I missed, we're just going to dive right into the channel audits, if that's cool with you. So our first, how did I get those colored lights on the wall? What's the mechanism? So the lights that I have, here, let me stop sharing my screen for just a second. So the lights that I have, it's hard to point when you're on camera. I'm figuring it out. There we go. Right there. And then behind me, they're just, they're called Govee lights. They're like tall lights that go about to like your waist high. And they're all Bluetooth and they connect to your Wi-Fi and you can change the color however you want. And then I have some Philips hues that are just kind of peppered around the room, and just try to give it a cool look. You can change it to orange or blue or do the multicolor. I'm just in a multicolor mood right now. I feel like I kind of am sitting inside of a popsicle, but I'm doing what I can. Okay, so I am going to try to read the chat to the best of my ability. Logan's going to throw stuff up on screen for me just in case I miss anything. But we're going to go to our first Q&A here, which is from, excuse me if I'm saying your last name wrong, but Lori Rotmeyer. And her channel is called Aging Rebel. Now, let me share my screen here. And her overall question is there anything glaringly wrong that's going on with her channel that we can kind of tidy up or fix? And I just want to say, based off of the banner and her profile picture and even the name of the channel, I really like what we're doing here. For women 60 plus, choosing strength, joy, and vitality, new videos every week, live strong, laugh often, shine with a purpose. Like, who you're talking to. And I think this is very, very important. And I'm going to get to it in a minute, but there's actually a little bit of a disconnect with the videos and what you're promising inside of the top end of your YouTube channel with your banner and all that good stuff. Now, that's not meant to come off as rude or anything. I just want to make sure that we line those missions up, because if we're not mission aligned, then we're going to kind of be throwing random ideas at the wall to see what sticks. So we'll get into that in a minute. I also want to address the description, just because this is such an easy fix that I think a lot of people just overlook, which is just having a simple one-liner that's under 50 characters at the top. That's super easy to read so that people don't have to click, well, the more button to figure out what exactly it is you're talking about. Because if we do that, we don't actually see what the channel is about until I open this up and see what you have to say. So just to give you an example, we'll go to Think Medias just so you can see. Now, we do a lot of promotions and stuff, so it's going to be a little bit different. But if you notice here, right, our first line is join us at the next YouTube Mastermind. And you don't have to click more to see that. You can see it right there. The link's right here. It's very clear and concise what our goal is. Now, normally when we're not promoting an event, we'll have an actual one-word description like helping YouTubers elevate their business or something like that, teaching you the basics from YouTube as a beginner, something that really just kind of drives the essence of what our channel is. Click a quick, easy line that is just clear and concise. Then we have a little bit of a description about what the channel and Think Media is about, as well as our mission statement, and then our work with us. And it's very simple. It's easy to read. It's very concise. You can probably use AI to do something like this to help leverage you. And so I think doing something like that for here would be very helpful. How to find a purpose-filled life after 60, or how women can find a purpose-filled life after 60. Something clean and concise right at the front end. And then a little bit about the channel, which you do have on this channel. You have a little bit of an about section, and then maybe a mission statement, as well as your links, which all that is fantastic. Checking the time. Okay. So now let's talk about the content itself, because this is where I think there's a little bit of a disconnect. And when firstly, when I kind of jump into a channel, I try not to look at all this stuff on top, because I want to see the videos and I want to see what my reaction is, like my emotional reaction. Like, what do I think this channel is about? Like, what is this person trying to say to me? Initially, I thought, oh, well, this is about exercise. Like, that was my first kind of gut reaction. Like exercise and health. And just looking at a couple of these thumbnails, and even going to the popular videos, we'll see, rebounding, which is, I guess, the jumping on the trampoline type thing. I didn't know that's what it was called, which is cool. I learned something new today. Fitness investment, 75 hard over 60. So I immediately thought we were doing like health and wellness right off the bat. And then I kind of go up and I'm like, okay, so we're talking about some other things here about strength, joy, and vitality, and just like living a healthier life, right? Which this is definitely part of that conversation. But I think we just need to be a little bit more clear on the topics. Now, when I first saw this video at the front end, a fox killed my chickens and it was a wake-up call after 60. Again, not throwing shade here. I'm just trying to be as like objective as possible. I was like, well, what does this have to do with strength and vitality for women over 60? Like, I don't know how many women over 60 have chicken coops or farms or anything like that and deal with something like this. So I'm just thinking, what exactly does this have to do with that premise, right? The other thing I was thinking is, at 65, I'm doing the work nobody sees. I actually like this concept quite a bit, but from the thumbnail and the title, I can't tell what that work is. So something that Sean was talking about recently, and what was it? It was the Elite Mastermind call. So for those of you who are an elite, I recommend going and watching that replay. And if you're not an elite, what are you doing? What are you doing? So he was talking about trying to find the intersection between having niche specific content, right? But also making it broad appeal as possible. And I think this is where a lot of people get stuck, because they're like, well, broad appeal, doesn't that mean I have to appeal to like everybody on the platform? It's like, well, no. If you open up a bagel shop, you're not appealing to, people who want to buy a steak. You're appealing to people who want to buy bagels. So you make your plain bagels, your poppy seed bagels, and then you can have those kind of weird niche bagels like blueberry, sun-dried tomato, reduction sauce with, a duck à l'orange flavoring. Like you can try weird stuff like that. You know what I mean? But those are going to be for a super select people. If you start making donuts that are, or not donuts, bagels that are really strange flavored, most people aren't going to come in. But you need to kind of find that intersection between the people that are looking for a bagel and the flavors that most people are interested in. And it's the same kind of thing with your content. And I think there's often a disconnect from the digital world to the physical world, but the human behavior is like the same in terms of how you're trying to target those people. So at 65, I'm doing the work nobody sees. There is actually, I'm actually going to go on a limb here and say that is a great title, but the thumbnail doesn't tell me anything. I have a headlamp I'm getting blinded by. I hover over the video. We're not even in that situation. Nobody sees this. Nobody sees what? I get it's the work, but what work are we discussing? So being clear with your topic and also kind of understanding the pain point that you're trying to solve for is super important, because remember I forgot to share my screen. Because remember, just to go over that again, I see the headlamp. Nobody sees this. Nobody sees what? I scroll over the video. We're not even in that situation. Just a quick recap. My apologies. So when I see this, I'm just thinking, okay, like, well, who is this video for? Women over 60. What are we solving for? Like, what pain point are we solving for? Is it encouragement? Is it to make people feel better about themselves? Is it physical health? What is the end result that we're trying to achieve? And I don't see that specificity. In fact, it's a little too broad. So instead of underserving the audience with something that's like hyper niche, we're trying to go past that. And it's really important to figure out where that intersection is on your channel. And you can do that by doing research. One last thing I want to quickly highlight, and then we can go and answer some questions in the chat, is for your videos, I noticed that even inside of the ones that were a little bit more specific, like the best fitness investment I've ever made, again, great title, 75 hard over 60. I love that you're doing these daily vlogs or vlog-esque type content. However, I felt that they were a little bit all over the place. Like they kind of started in one spot, and then they kind of veered into other directions. And so I think it's very important that we figure out, okay, I have my premise. How do I stick with it? What are like my 3 or 4, maybe even 5 points that I'm going to cover inside of this video to move the viewer through to give them some help? Why was this the best fitness investment you've ever made? That's kind of what is important about the video, because that's what you're selling me on the front end. It's a clear thumbnail. You're clearly excited. You're clearly stoked. I can see the text clearly. It all makes sense. I really like that. But then the video just kind of bobbed and weaved a little bit all over the place. One last, well, let's get through this ad. And just one teeny tiny small thing. I don't think you need to have this disclaimer at the front end of your videos, mostly because it's a waste of time and it's going to push people away from the content because they already know that. And you can put this in the description. You could have that somewhere down here at the bottom. There we go. Disclaimer, some of my link. Okay, actually, that's about affiliate links. I would just put a disclaimer if you really care about having a medical disclaimer. Put that in the description and really just start right away with your hook instead of making viewers wait about, a few seconds to get through all that, go through the bumper, and then get into the content. Just try to start cleanly and clearly with the content as soon as you can, sticking with a topic that meets at the intersection of broad appeal and niche specific. Okay. Now I'm going to start answering some questions in the chat. You guys may have noticed, hey, what's up, Currently Retro? It's good to see you too. You guys may have noticed that I'm flying solo here. Caleb was supposed to come. So I'm going to do my best to answer all these questions. Caleb bailed on you guys. I want you guys to let that sink in. Caleb bailed. Okay. He doesn't love you guys like I love you guys. Okay. So we're going to answer some questions now. I'm going to go over to the star chat. Okay. Can you please tell me why my subscriber count is still so low and my VPH sucks? Well, if I could see your channel, that might help a little bit, but I can kind of give a little bit of advice on the front end. Generally, when this stuff is happening, hey, first of all, subscriber count, I don't think is that important. You can get tons of views on your channel. I'm actually going to pull up a channel of a guy that was in VRA for a long time, VRA Elite. and I want to show you the views he's getting compared to his subscriber count. Now, he has a good amount of subscribers, by the way. He has like 65,000 subscribers. But I just want to show you some of the views that he's getting. It's absolutely insane. All right, let me take that off. Because I think subscriber count, we get it in our heads like, oh my goodness, I need to get all these subscribers. It's like, no, you need to get views. Views are what's important. And generally this happens because videos aren't basically everything I said in Aging Rebels channel audit. It's like the views are just, the videos are not pointed enough at a person. They're not solving the problems. The thumbnails maybe aren't executed well. Titles aren't drawing curiosity yet being somewhat clear. Like there's a lot of double think that goes into YouTube, which I know is confusing, but it's just a process of getting better at these things over time. But the reason I brought his channel up is he's 65,000 subscribers. Okay. Like that's not nothing to sneeze at, but look at some of the views he's getting. 600,000, 400,000, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, 500,000, 1 million views. And he's posting like once a month or something like that. But these are views of channels with millions of subscribers. Like these are such good views. And this matters way more than him having 100K subs, or mattering way more than him having 1 million subs. Because how many of you guys watched a great video that had, that went viral, and are you subbed to their channel? Probably not, because YouTube doesn't necessarily think about it that way. They're trying to get you to stay on the platform. They're going to start recommending you more content by these people. And I've done this as a test to myself where I have other YouTube accounts and I won't subscribe to any channels on there. And my algorithm will start being like that. My original channel algorithm after a few weeks, because I just start kind of going back into my viewing habits. So I would really start to think about, like, are you planning your videos, Michelle? Are you planning the title and the thumbnail? Are you actually solving for these problems? And if you're struggling with that, I definitely, excuse me, recommend going through VRA Masters and looking at the different ways you can package content, because I do think that would be very, very helpful. Okay, what fonts are the best for use in thumbnails? That's a good question. I would say I'm never going to be able to be like, well, this font type, I don't really have that type of answer. But even if we look at, we'll go back to our example here. You want it to just be clean and clear. Usually bold, some sort of bolder font where it's easy to read. But what's mostly important, and I think this is probably the most important part of the thumbnail design, is like, are you able to display that information without using fonts? Like, yeah, we have day 1, day 75. But if I look at this image and I see him overweight and then in shape, and I read the title, I still would get value out of that packaging. It's not unclear. So fonts should be used as like almost like a garnish to the thumbnail title dish. If you can get away without a font, you should do that. But if you look at these videos, the font's very simplistic. It's very clean. It's very clear. There's some drop shadow behind it to allow it to pop. If we go to Think Media, there's going to be a mix of fonts and no fonts, depending on the type of video. But we try to keep it just as clean and as possible. We want to try to use as minimal amount of clutter in the video, in the thumbnail, as you can, so that the idea of the content gets across. DJI Mic Mini just got better, $25. Like, we're emphasizing the price there, right? And emphasizing why it got better. And then for $25, like, you're going to get a killer mic. I tested the 22 podcast microphones. These are the best. Laid out all the podcast mics right there on the table. So it really does depend on what it is that you're trying to display. And that's why I always think it's important to start doing some research. And this kind of ties into Michelle's question as well. Do some research. Start planning your content so that when you're actually building out your videos, you have some references. Not everything has to be original. All right, we'll do one more question. Thought you were supposed to have SEO in the description. Yeah, you should. but you can leverage that on the front end of the description or on the top half of the description, because that's YouTube does prioritize that. But mostly if we're talking about the disclaimer, I'm not sure what you're specifically referencing to, but you should have SEO in your description. You can use tags down at the bottom. Your description though of the video is also going to be utilized as SEO. So you could actually go inside of ChatGPT and say, hey, my video is about the top 22 podcast microphones that I've tested, and I'm going to go over what's the best. What would be a good way to summarize this video? And can you put a lot of search terms inside of my description so that YouTube can leverage that for the algorithm? And it will help you do that, because YouTube's AI systems that are going through and scrubbing the videos, they have like contextual understanding now. So it's not the same as like, oh, I just got to jam it full of SEO terms. It's like, no, you can pepper those into your actual description. And then the same thing goes with your transcript of your video. So you want to make sure you're using good terms or SEO terms or terms that are pertaining to whatever you're talking about in the hook and in the beginning, because YouTube is going to allow that to be searchable as well as the context of the video, the title, what's going on in the thumbnail. So it's actually a whole package deal. It's not just focusing on the description. And while the tag section is probably the least important, I still recommend just making some tags, using the vidIQ tool to see what's ranking. That way you can actually leverage them a little bit, but they are probably the least important in the food chain here, or in the hierarchy. But hey, YouTube could change its algorithm in 5 minutes from now, and everything I said could be canceled, and tags are the most important. So just, you got to kind of keep on top of this stuff, because YouTube's like an ever evolving system. Okay. We're going to go back to our channel audits. I really do appreciate those questions. Let's see if anybody said anything in the chat. Brilliant prompt right there. Prompting AI can be confusing. Suggestions. Yeah, we'll go over that in a second, Sally, for sure. Yeah, you're welcome. Dining at Disney. You're welcome. Glad to help. I hate when I come here and I forget all the questions I have all week. Welcome to my life, Retro. Welcome to my life. I had like a whole bunch of stuff I was thinking I was going to say before the stream happened, and I don't remember any of it, honestly. So, okay. Anyway, I'll stop yapping. We're going to go to David Acosta, who has a channel called Made by David. And his question is, as a very new creator, how should I be focusing my time in planning the next 3 to 6 months to scale up and grow for 2026 and beyond? Well, David, let's hope you came to the right place. So here's what I would say. I love what you're doing so far. I think you're actually doing a pretty good job for just getting started. Now, there are some particulars I would maybe focus on with production and stuff like that, but it looks to me like you're using the OBSBot camera or something that follows you around. So I have a feeling that your camera is just kind of tracking the food and yourself going back and forth. I do think it would be best to have a camera that's focusing on the food and maybe somebody that can help film or something like that. That way you can actually show the food when it's necessary versus yourself. I would try to also focus on using high quality images of your own food to display instead of, I'm pretty sure these are AI. Because when we see content that from creators that are making similar types of content, they're usually utilizing the finished product of what they have made and putting it in the thumbnail. So, okay, how do I focus on what to do for the next 3 to 6 months? Got it. Let's circle back to that. Thumbnails and titles. And I would also, I can't even believe I'm going to say this because it's almost usually the opposite of what I say. I think you're stripping the videos down a little bit too much. Usually people waffle and they talk for way too long and they don't get to the point. I think you're too much to the point. And we'll just, we can watch this whole video. I'll put it on 1.5 times speed. It's a minute long and I get the whole recipe and that's great, but you're not going to get any AdSense on this in time. Also, we want to remove these tags from the title. And I didn't really get to see any of David here. You know, I'm just learning about banana bread.
Hey, welcome back. If you're new to my show, I'm David. We're going to be doing a banana bread. Now I'm going to show you that one thing that's going to crank it up. I'm going to take 3 ripe bananas and add them to a bowl. 8 tablespoons of softened butter. Butter your pan. Take a fork and mash all that up. 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Mix it up again.
It's just very, very, very straight to the point. But I do think that and I think you have a good personality in there. You know what I mean? I can see it like just it's like trying to break free. I can see it just in the shackles of the YouTube prison, just waiting to escape and flourish into the algorithm. Like I can see it for sure. And so I think part of the thing about YouTube that's important is the you part. I know it's so cliche to say, but you can't have YouTube without yourself. And while I think it's great that you're sticking to the point and being very matter of fact and not wasting the viewer's time, there's also a way to kind of split the balance here. And even with a content creator like this guy, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. This guy has 6 million subscribers. He's clearly been doing this for a while. I don't like to always compare a channel that just started like 5 minutes ago with 19 subscribers to a channel with 6 million. It's not the goal. The goal is to just showcase an excellent way to have a good balance between showcasing information quickly, showcasing the final product of the banana bread in this instance, and also taking a little bit of time to spend a few moments with the viewer and finding that healthy balance.
Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making some easy, delicious banana bread. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 350 and take a look at your bananas. They should be spotted and dark and really fragrant. If they're on the yellow,
16 seconds in, we got the oven preheated to the right temperature. We know what we're making with that great, beautiful B-roll of the banana bread, and we already know what our bananas should look like. So it was still quick. It was still just as quick as David's, but it didn't feel like it was just super choppy, and we still got a taste of the personality and the overall vibe of the channel. There is a guy weed whacking outside of my house right now, and it's a little distracting. So if I lose my train of thought, don't be mad at me. I'm doing my best. All right, guys. So the other thing that I would say is, like a moment ago, is try to figure out how to kind of utilize your actual final product.
Hey, welcome back. If you're new to my
from your videos to showcase just how awesome these recipes are. So if you can take a nice photo and use that as your thumbnail, maybe put yourself in the thumbnail, you're doing a lot of the stuff right. You're actually getting decent footage. You're putting yourself in the video. You're tasting the final product. I think all of this stuff is really leaning into the right direction. But if you look at some other channels that are in your space, you're going to notice some similar themes of the thumbnails. That's literally a thumb with nails. Perfect banana bread. We see the final product here. Mom's banana bread recipe. We see the final product there. Just start, and this is a message to everybody, like start looking at other people's channels. Look at who we got here. Look at who we got here showing up in search. Love it. Just start looking at some of these other channels as their actual real photos. I feel like that's AI. It just, because it's not like your counter or anything like that. And there's nothing inherently wrong with utilizing AI inside of your thumbnail making. But I think when it comes to like cooking and gardening and home ec stuff, they really value transparency. And I think the more we alleviate that, the more of a resistance there's going to be to bringing in new people. Well, here's another thing. Not just make sure I'm pronouncing your name right, but Moni, or unless it's Money Central and it's just like spelled, I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Make sure I'm saying it right. But the hardest thing about planning the hook is, and this is the same with the thumbnail and the titles, I think a lot of people kind of go into this stuff thinking, well, I have to do everything 100% on my own. I can't get inspiration from anywhere. But that's just not true. Is the great late Steve Jobs said, great artist, or actually I don't know who said it. I think I've heard it from him. But something like great artist, I'm just gonna look it up because I can't remember what it is. What is it? Great artists steal. Yeah, that's the steal quote. Great artists copy, or good artists copy, great artists steal. Okay. That's what I was trying to remember. I don't know who said it. We'll figure that part out later. I probably just lied to everybody. So it's going well. take inspiration from other channels. And I'm gonna, when we get to the next channel audit, I'm gonna bring up a channel called Skill Up, because this was a great inspiration to me. And I would go into his videos and I would literally look up his hooks, and I would say, oh, okay, I see how he's setting this up. I would take the transcript, I would copy and paste it. This was before AI was a little bit more prevalent. It was probably around, but I just wasn't using it. And I would take the first paragraph of his content. I would literally just go like this.
What if instead of
Go into the description, scroll down to the 9 million recommendations of his videos, show transcript, and he always does. All right. And I would take his content and I would just copy and paste it, and I would put it inside of a Google Doc. And then I would just break it apart, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I see how he's introducing the content here. I see how he's setting things up here. He's like telling a little bit of a story. He's giving a little bit of a preamble as to why this game had anticipation, or it wasn't very good, or the developers didn't do a great job with the timeline that they said they wanted to deliver things, or it was undercooked. And he maybe would give an analogy, and I was like, I really like this style because it's kind of unique to the game review space. And I adopted it. It worked for me. I'm not saying these styles are going to work for everybody. If you got to find something that resonates with you. So in this case with Made by David, it's like, why not go over to this dude with 6 million subscribers? I forget his name. We'll find him again. Preppy Kitchen. And start looking at his content and just take the hook and say, how can I turn this into my own? How can I turn this into something that's going to resonate with the viewer? And so the other thing you can do in terms of planning your content out, David, because I want to make sure that I'm getting to that, is start thinking a little bit in long term in terms of seasonality. And, for example, like Christmas is going to come around every year. What are the top 10 Christmas cookie? I don't know if you make cookies, but like the top 10 Christmas cookie recipes that, you have to make, or the best Christmas roast, or something, whatever, like Christmas ham, I guess would probably be more appropriate. Or Thanksgiving's going to come around. Today's St. Patrick's Day. Is there anything St. Patrick's-y that you can make? Oh, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I'm totally wearing green somewhere, I promise. So nobody can pinch me in the chat, all right? I don't want to see any pinching fingers in the chat. So my point is, what can you think about that's going to happen in life constantly that you can leverage as part of your content pillar? Because there's going to be certain things that just never change. And a perfect example of that is with Think Media. And I don't know if this is on our podcast channel or this channel. I do have a green-ish light. That's very true. Thank you so much, CPR. I appreciate that. Got my back. Wow. Okay. So here on Think, we always are doing Amazon Prime. We've been doing it for 8 years, probably even longer, 9 years. Well, that's free stuff on Amazon, but is Amazon Prime worth it? 15 pro tips you need for Amazon Prime Day. Best Amazon tech deals under $100 3 months ago. Like, these videos are designed to A, be partially evergreen, but B, to take leverage of the trend of Amazon Prime. Sean, I think it kind of happens over Thanksgiving sometimes. Or no, that's Black Friday, excuse me. But the Amazon Prime stuff, Sean will literally like spend time setting up all these videos, doing tons of research. I can't remember if he does the live stream for Prime. I know he does it for Black Friday. And he'll like live stream for 2 or 3 days for Black Friday just to get people hyped up so that we can funnel and have them go to the affiliate links in the description, and then we get that revenue. You can do the same stuff. You can totally do the same stuff. Imagine making a Thanksgiving video that's an absolute banger, and you have affiliate links to all the tools and the kitchen gadgets that you utilized in that video. And then people are like, oh my gosh, I love the way I don't know how to cook anything, so forgive me, but I love the way I can't even think of any terms. I love the way that turkey was cooked. That's all I'll say. So, and maybe they like the pan. Maybe they like the little squeegee thing that you put the juices all over the turkey on. Maybe they like the knife. And then they can go click those links. They don't even have to buy anything, but the cookies will be in their browser history for 24 hours or something like that. So the whole point is like, think about what's coming up inside of your niche. How can you leverage that to make revenue outside of AdSense? The other thing I would look up, and this is again for everybody, I know we're talking about David here specifically, but this is for all of you guys. What is popular inside of that space. I know in the cooking space, it really works when you kind of cover single recipes as opposed to a lot of recipes maybe in one video, or like instead of amazing Black Forest cake that maybe he did like best top 5 Black Forest. I don't even know if there's probably not many Black Forest cakes, different types. Like maybe it's like he does top 5 unique cakes that are easy to make or something like that. That probably wouldn't work as well because it's a little there's like too many layers there. So having something with a singular focus, especially in the cooking space, I think is a good thing to do. And as a note, and then we'll get into some Q&A. When you're layering too many ideas into a YouTube video idea, that's taking away from that broad appeal yet specific area in your niche. So if you made a video, you're a fitness YouTuber and you're trying to make a video about top 5 tips for, running, getting into running as a beginner. If you came at it from like, these running shoes and electrolyte drinks changed the way I looked at running. It's like, well, now you're talking about like electrolyte powder. Now you're talking about shoes and running. Like, who is this for, really? Like, it's kind of splitting off in too many directions. There's too many layers. But if you came at it from top 5 things I wish I knew when running as a beginner, well, then you could talk about the electrolyte drinks. Then you can talk about the running shoes. Then you can talk about all these things because these are going to be foundational tips to the worldview of which you're perpetuating through that content. Okay. Let me go over here. We got some more questions. Do I think color scheme matters in thumbnails, like common colors across the channel thumbnails? Yes and no. Let me go back to this. Okay, we got about 20 minutes. So I'll answer questions for another 5 or so minutes, and we'll do another channel audit, and then I'll answer a couple questions, and I'll get you guys on your way. So we have Think Media's thumbnails. Now, you can see there's not like necessarily a similar color type, but we do have certain things that we do regularly. Like, for example, we use this kind of gray and white gradient a lot. You can see in the background. That's very common. But we also will use blues and greens and reds and whatnot, but it's still kind of subdued at the end of the day. So there's definitely a tone. But I think the question that I'm kind of pulling from this is like, does my brand have to be entirely consistent across the entire channel? And I would say yes and no. Don't get locked into like one color. For example, like if we made every thumbnail look like this one, I mean, that's just not realistic. Oh, it took away that's just not realistic. We don't always want to use yellow font. We're not always going to be talking about phones. We don't always have that background. It's kind of contextual. So, but I will say this font is the same as this font. So we do use similar font types throughout the content. But we want to be able to be flexible in terms of how we're designing things so that we can make it look how that particular video needs to look. Videos need to kind of rest on their own laurels, and they should be able to stand on their own 2 feet. But we want to do this at the same time as kind of sticking to the overall cohesion of the brand, but you don't have to be 100% locked into all of it. Okay. Can posting shorts that doesn't have any videos related to it, will it work in some way? How would I redirect these videos? Oh, did that change? What just happened? Something happened. I see. For example, I want to put a short showing graphics of a PS2 and PS2 game that came on both systems. I'm assuming you mean PS3 or PS5 or something. But my YouTube channel video section doesn't have any gameplay. Would that be a good direction? So here's what I would say about all the shorts and stuff. Generally speaking, I don't think it's super duper important to always try to, I want to say this correctly. If you have a video idea or concept that you turned into a short that came from a long form video, you should probably link back to it. Okay, I'm not saying to not do that. However, I just don't think that it's always going to be the most valuable tactic and use of your time. You should care more about creating the short for the short viewer, not creating the short for a viewer you want to turn into a long form viewer, because they're two different viewers. They have two different types of behaviors when it comes to consuming content. So there's a channel that I love to use this example on. Science Lab Shorts, is that what? Action Lab. I was way off. So this channel, I've never subscribed to it. I've never watched any of the long form content, but I've watched oh, hold on, timeout. This channel, I've never subscribed to it. I've never watched any long form videos, but I love their shorts. It's just like weird science experiments, and he kind of puts the whole entire thing inside of 1 to 3 minutes, and it's very, very interesting. If he linked to the main video, I'd never click it in a million years, because that's not my goal as a viewer. My goal as a viewer is to watch something sciencey for like 2 minutes and then pretend I'm a scientist and then move on with my day. So if you're trying to get somebody to come over to watch the long form video, I don't think that should be the goal. I think what's best to do is to come up with video concepts that you're utilizing on the long form content, and then repurpose great bits from it. When I say repurpose, I don't mean just copy and paste into a short. I mean refilm the short, like take it, condense it, make the script better, and then make the short that way. That's what I do recommend. I also don't think it's a bad idea to create some shorts that are not pointing to anything on the long form channel. So if you want to do a graphics comparison, I don't think that's a bad idea. I would hope it's not just silence of the graphics comparison. Maybe you're doing some sort of explanation or something like that. But I do think that's a good idea. I don't think you always have to be pointing back to the long form, because kind of the purpose of shorts is to build your audience up and get views to kind of get put into people's algorithm and get more vanity metrics with shorts as a whole, because you're not going to make a lot of money from that. Long form is definitely the king there still. All right, I hope that was helpful. I feel like I didn't even really say anything at the end of the day, but I'm doing my best. Okay, Sally, prompting AI can be confusing. Suggestions. Yes, I have some suggestions. I'm not going to do a prompt here because we're running short on time and I want to get to this last channel on it, but here's what I will say. When you're doing research for your ideas inside of your niche, like this is probably what I would do. I would go to gardening for beginners, something like that. And I would start looking at these titles. Okay, gardening basics for beginners. And then I don't know if you can do this. I know I'm going to throw some text stuff at you. If you want to write it down, do whatever the way it works for you, Sally. But I would write down these titles and what's on the thumbnail. And if you can take screenshots, well, it didn't even show it on my screen share, whatever. Take screenshots of things, go into the videos, look at their descriptions. And then I would take like 4 or 5 videos about like gardening basics for beginners or something like that. And I would put that information into AI. Okay, here's 5 videos I found from one from Dig Plant Water Repeat, one from Scott Head, one from Epic Gardening, one from Millennial Gardener, whatever. Growing in the Garden. Here are their titles. Here are what's in their descriptions. Here's an image of their thumbnails. Based off of this information, I really want to start focusing on gardening for beginners. However, I do want to make sure I'm focusing on a little bit more of the older demographic, because I want to help them stay fit and move and live a healthy life. And I think gardening is a great way to do that. We are focusing more on flowers and not vegetable gardens and things like that. So while I do want to take the structure and the concepts from these videos, I want to make sure I'm applying it to my target demographic and coming up with concepts that they're looking for. And then you could also say, and what are things that they're looking for? What problems are these people having? What solutions can I provide to them based off of the questions that they're searching or what they're thinking about, and what's kind of been trending in that area over the last few years? And you can take a prompt like that, and I'm sure there's going to be a replay of this somewhere. So hopefully you can get the transcript or and copy and paste it, or you know, kind of utilize it in your own way. But going from there, I think, is a really great start in just figuring out which direction you should be pointing. And here's the thing, this works for anybody. Like this is not just with gardening. This is with gaming. This is with tech tutorials or crocheting, like stuff that I was just saying about David's channel. Excuse me. It works with all of that. All right. Well, okay. We'll answer some more questions in a moment. I'm going to go to our last channel audit, and then I will bid you all adieu. Let me close some tabs here. I got a lot of tabs going on. Okay. So our last channel is from Inspired Theories, and he was talking about his like click-through rate and stuff like that with his content. And what he does is he does Star Wars lore type content and explaining different things inside of the universe, and does deep dives, somewhat deep dives. And I'm going to explain what I mean by I say somewhat. I think there's a common misconception in spaces like these when it comes to reviewers of things inside of like the gaming space or the movie space or like a certain sub niche like Star Wars, where shorter content actually might not be your friend. And what do I mean by short content? Because you're like, Alex, there's literally 8-minute videos here, 12-minute videos. I think diving in a little bit deeper is actually kind of the way to go. And this is why I brought up Skill Up before. Excuse me. The Star Wars ringtone rang on your phone. The Force is real. True. It's really funny. I mean, that's just what we do around here. We send the Force where it needs to be sent. So when I'm looking at Skill Up, which if you're into video games, this guy's absolutely peak. He's such a good writer. Like it's almost like he's reading a book to you that is a review of the game that he's so good. And he's taking his time to dive deeper into these games, explaining mechanics, explaining graphics, explaining development, explaining story, explaining how it doesn't work or why it could have worked, doing overviews and impressions. And he's spending anywhere from, some of them are a little bit shorter. It depends on what the content is, but I would say 15 minutes to 35 minutes, sometimes 45 minutes for a review. Recently he did one on a open world game that's like 30 minutes, right? Crimson Desert, which is a big upcoming release. And my point is, when you fracture topics like this, it's really going to make it tough to garner interest from a more broad appeal audience inside of the Star Wars space. And I circle back again to what Sean said inside of the Elite Mastermind call, which you definitely got to go to if you haven't, or watch the replay, is how do you find that intersection between broad appeal and focusing on your audience, your niche? It's hard. And so that's why we do research. That's why we use AI. That's why we follow the 7 R's. That's why we do all the things that we do. So we're actually hitting that stride. Because I was watching your videos, Inspired, and I don't think your videos are bad. Not at all. I just think that they're very fractionalized, and it's like some of these things could have been part of a broader concept. All lightsaber forms so dangerous the Jedi forbade them. I don't know enough about lightsabers. Star Wars was never really my thing. But is that really a 10-minute topic? Like, are we padding this out too much? Could this have been like a 5-minute subject inside of a broader concept? And then when I see stuff like the Jedi protected the wrong thing, well, now we're kind of talking about what I was focusing on with Aging Rebel. It's like, well, I don't even know what this really means. And Yoda's a failure. So there's a lack of specificity in some videos and then too specific in others. And it's like, what if we combine, I don't think compound's a word, but I was about to say it. What if we combined these different ideas together? Maybe not these two specific ones, but a few bigger ideas together to go over the topic as a whole. The hidden meaning behind every rare lightsaber color. When I saw this, immediately my mind was like, oh, that could have been a short. Like, imagine watching a 2.5, 3 minutes short about understanding all the rare colors or all the different colors. I bet you that thing would blow up in 2 seconds. But I don't know if that's worth a 9-minute video. Or maybe if you're breaking down some lore inside of the universe itself, you could talk about like, why this group had this color or that, and it's just kind of metaphorically aligns with whatever story arc you're explaining. So I do think there's almost too much specificity inside of this space. And if you're going with titles like, well, they protected the wrong thing, and then I start watching the video and I realize what you're talking about, I'm like, I don't really even care anymore because I don't care about this particular thing. But if you told me that on the front end with the title and the thumbnail, and I started watching the video and it matched my expectations, well, then people are going to stay. So you really have to make sure your title and your thumbnail and the topic are super clear. And then when people click the video, it matches what they're saying. And so that's just my thought in terms of like production and kind of like figuring out how to find that intersection for you. And there's so many channels that I think you can look at. If you're more of an off the cuff type of person, you could look at Jake Baldino. He does game reviews too. And he does more off the cuff style stuff, but his reviews are generally he's just talking from the heart, but he has a really good way of kind of conveying that stuff as well. I personally like things that are more scripted and highly produced. And even though it's not Star Wars, I still think it's a broad concept of like, okay, we're looking at Skate Story. Okay, we're looking at Metroid Prime or whatever that, Prime. We're looking at Dispatch. We're talking about the Xbox. Like, these are broad enough topics to where you can have subsections in them that allow you to, well, create why the Jedi protected the wrong thing, or why the lightsabers were banned or forbidden, or the dark truth behind whatever. I think that when you fraction everything off into bits, it really narrows down who the audience that you're targeting will who will be interested in this specific type of content. All right. I hope that was helpful. Let's see. Let's check the chat. Let's see what you guys are saying. Oh, you're so welcome, Sally. You know I love you. Okay. Gonna have to study this one. I want to do this as well. Definitely. Skill Up is so good. So good. Look, Logan's getting some love. Thanks for today. Love and peace, everyone. Same to you, Michael. Same to you. Star Wars is absolutely epic. All right, Currently Retro, I have something to say. I've never seen it. Never seen Star Wars. So that's something we can talk about. All right. We got a couple more questions here. Let's see. My niche is OCD. Should I pivot my what is OCD video to an emotional angle, e.g. a hell on earth, to stand out from big channels, or just make the best basic version and compete directly? Well, see, I'm actually really glad you said this, because this is a great question, and I love that you're thinking this way. I want to just twist it and reshape it just a little bit, if you don't mind. So the first thing I would say is, when you say something like hell on earth, there's definitely a lot of emotional, heaviness there. But what does that mean? Because that experience for me could have nothing to do with OCD. It could have to do with like a breakup, or it could have to do with getting messed over in a business deal, losing all my investment. It could have something to do with like my kids not wanting to speak to me, or whatever, losing your job. And so you want to make sure that you're framing things properly that pertain to the topic at hand, like with OCD. So it could be the 10 biggest, trying to think of something off the top of my head, but like the 10 biggest unknowns about having OCD, of living with OCD, or what you don't know about living with OCD. And then in parentheses, like the darkest something, I don't know, the darkest lifestyle. And then the thumbnail could say something like the truth behind OCD. You can frame things in that kind of a manner that's like alluding to hell on earth, but that's going to be an experience that's different for everyone. It's too vague. So you can kind of, I know this is going to sound a little bit contradicting, and I don't mean it to, but when you're doing your research, like, you don't have to go to the OCD niche to figure out how to frame content like that. You can look at a variety of channels to kind of understand how to frame things in that certain way, because that's a very common way to frame things in the negative or are highly positive. But I think some sort of listicle or framing it in a way that's still utilizing OCD in the title and the thumbnail, I think would be super duper helpful. Okay, we're gonna do one more question and then we'll wrap here. How do you know if YouTube is pushing your videos? Well, you can tell by looking at your analytics. Let me see if I can go to Think Media's account real quick. Logan, do you have like a couple extra minutes if I go over? Okay. All right, let's see if I can find a video that did well. Okay, so there's a couple things that we're looking for in terms of retention and stuff like that. So first of all, I know when we see like average percentage viewed, oh, 27%, average view duration, 257. This video has 300,000 views. So over time, these numbers will get diluted. But I just want to kind of go over a couple things in terms of what we're looking for with retention and whatnot. This is a pretty healthy retention curve. We got about, it's a little lower at the end, but we got, about 15 out of 100 people sticking around, right? But in the beginning, if you can get a retention curve that's about 70% or higher in the first 30 seconds, that's going to be pretty good. Now, ours is a little lower now because we have so many views on it. It dilutes it because YouTube's testing it to so many different types of people. They may skip around, or they may not be, they just may not want to watch the video. So these are just indicators that we're looking that the video is healthy. However, is it this? Sorry, there's so many spaces in YouTube. I can't remember where everything is. Okay. You can look at your traffic sources and you can see if it's being pushed in browse or YouTube search or external. So if you post a video, if you're like a business channel, you're posting stuff on LinkedIn and Facebook, like this probably would be higher where it says external. But really where we want to know where we want our videos to be is inside of YouTube search and browse. So if we're seeing a lot of YouTube search for a lot of our videos, it means people are looking this stuff up and they're clicking it. YouTube's recommending that video. Browse means it's being pushed inside of on the people's homepage, and then suggested could be after somebody watches another YouTube tutorial, that like Craig's tutorial would be right there. So these are ways that we can kind of gauge where our video is. However, if you start to see like on your channel, well, my click-through rate is like 12%. Because you might be looking at this, you're like 3.9. Well, my video is at 12%. I only have 50 views. Like, what the heck, Alex? It's like, well, the reason that it's like that is because the first push that YouTube made with your video was just to a very, very small audience. They clicked it, it made your click-through rate high, and then YouTube's like, well, they're not sticking around. And we're going to test this to another audience and we'll see how it goes. And then we're going to test it to another audience and see how it goes. But if people stop engaging with it and the impressions start to go down and they're not clicking on anything, well, then YouTube, I don't want to say they peter it out, but it stops getting recommended as much. And so a good way to kind of fix this issue, if you're having any issues at all, let me see if I can find the video that there we go. If you're having any issues like this, the way to potentially uplift a video, and this is assuming that you've done everything right. Your topic's great. Maybe you had some issues with the title and the thumbnail, so put an asterisk there. But the topic's great. You know the video's good. You got a good hook. You did everything right. You followed the 7 R's. You got a good structure and everything. If you're seeing that it didn't take off, and you're like, this video should have done better. Like, I don't get it. Well, this video, see if I can find the date. It took, okay, so the video launched February 1st, and then it didn't start taking off until almost June. And that was when Craig finally changed the thumbnail and the title, because he was like, this video should have done better. Like, he didn't understand why. So they repackaged it, and now it has 500,000 views. 500,000 views. I'm going to zoom in as hard as I can. That's 500,000 views from just repackaging an old video. So you kind of got to find that sweet spot. And I know I've said that over and over, and we're all trying to navigate towards that area, but it's true. You got to figure out, like, what did I do wrong here? Can I repackage this? Can I salvage this? Or did I just make a bad video and it's a good idea, but I just didn't make a great video? Should I just redo this idea? The answer is yes to all of it, really. But you just have to be able to diagnose the problem. That's what the community is for. That's what VRA is for. That's what Elite's for. That is literally what the mastermind is for. And we'll end here. If you want to join our mastermind, please go to thinkmediamastermind.com. It's coming up so quick. Before you even know it, it's going to be here. So get your early bird tickets. It's thinkmediamastermind.com. Take the quiz. Reach out to Think Media Support if you have any questions. Like I said, Sean, Nathan, Caleb, Brian, they're all going to be presenting. I still have a presentation on deck that I didn't get to give. And so maybe I'll be presenting. Who knows? And it'll be just as good as this call, if not better. And maybe I'll even call on you in the audience, make you come up on stage. We'll have an Oprah moment. It'll be beautiful. So I appreciate you guys so much. We had such a good time. Thank you for hanging out in the chat. Retro, I'm super sorry that I've never seen Star Wars. I hope you can forgive me. And with that being said, I'll bid you all adieu and take care.